Hey guys, this is a brief but supposedly true encounter. My meeting with the Dogman was a fleeting one. And to tell you the truth, I had no idea precisely what I witnessed that morning until a few months ago when I came on this channel. My fiancée enjoys listening to actual terrifying tales, and one evening when we were in the vehicle on her way home, she was playing this Siege at the Allah King Ranch story. While I'm listening, I tell her, babe, that I've seen something that is quite similar to what this other man is describing. See, I received my degree in architectural engineering from Indiana State University, where I also completed my undergraduate education. There were these instructors that we had, some of them were chill, while others were simply an absolute pain in the rear. I'm talking about the same level of difficulty as academics. To this day, I believe that Professor Dr. Singh went home, saying it is death, and thought of methods to get kids failing grades. That is to say, he devised the most challenging tests ever seen in the history of the world. And a part of me can't help but wonder whether our Indian lecturer, Dr. Singh, was simply having fun tormenting us American students for our own amusement. Now, pay attention to this. One of the examinations is given by him. Everyone who is seated in the room looks about at the other people in the room, then looks at the test, then looks around at the other people in the room, then looks at the test. There is not a single piece of knowledge on this exam that even remotely resembles anything that we have been going over for the previous 2 weeks, and as a result, the whole class gets a failing grade. Everyone else, with the exception of a man called Alan, is one of those human enigmas, which means that this particular individual has never been found wanting in any way. It made no difference what it was. He was nothing short of a genius. But as for the rest of the people, we were unsuccessful. As I previously said to you, this kind of examination is not an isolated occurrence. This is something that he performs again and over again, and then Dr. Singh informs all of us that there is a possibility for us to get additional credit. Another ruse that I think he concocted because he was a lonely guy and he needed people to hang out with, and this was a method for him to acquire an unlimited supply of students to hang out with. This is it, he told them he was going to kill himself if they told anybody. He informs us that we all have the chance to spend any Saturday morning with him down to the Pyramid Mounds in Knox County throughout the next 4 weeks. After then, Dr. Singleton began speaking about the culture of the Indians. Remember to keep the American Indian culture in mind. The good doctor is neither of American or Indian descent. Curry red dot is what he is. Chicken Indian left each and every one of us scratching our heads. You are faced with a choice, but given the circumstances, you really don't have much of a choice. Understand that his offer was valid, spend that Saturday with him, and you can get 50 points added to your test, or you can get a retake where your highest possible score could be 80%. This means that you get a retake of the same test that you saw earlier, on which the highest grade you could receive was an 80. I have it on good authority that I earned a 12,345 on this test. Even with the addition of 50 points, I was only able to move up to a high F grade. It did not affect the outcome in any way. Consequently, I did not have any other option except to go ahead and embark on this journey. You should now comprehend the reasons behind my visit to the mounds. Permit me to explain how it came about that I arrived there so much earlier than expected. Now that it's Friday night, I'm well conscious of the fact that we have to leave for the mountains first thing on Saturday morning. However, I sometimes attend parties at the home of my friends, during which we consume alcoholic beverages and smoke marijuana from pipes. After being as high as a kite, I dozed asleep at around 7:30 p.m. and woke up at 5:30 a.m. I come to my senses in a state of extreme terror, still under the influence of certain drugs and still somewhat intoxicated, but with the knowledge that I had to be in Knox County at 6:45 a.m. at this mound. Even until this very day. It's been a while, but I still haven't worked out where the heck I got the time of 6:45 in the morning. Nevertheless, you've had me thinking exactly the same thing. Imagine this for a moment. I'm in a haste to go to the bathroom, where I'll wash my face and then brush my teeth. Right now you can find me downstairs in his kitchen opening some cabinets and getting some coffee for myself. I can tell that he is in possession of some Adderall. Now that I've added a rose to the mix, I think to myself, okay, in a few seconds I'm going to be wide awake. The rest of the people in the home are sleeping. I take the keys to his vehicle, climb in, and we set out for the destination, which is located an hour and 15 minutes away in Knox County. I'm going too fast for the early hours of a Saturday morning. I arrive at the location at 6:55 a.m., walk out of the vehicle, look around, and see that not a single person, not even one single person, is there. It is now bright daylight, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe they're here, maybe they're only on the other side of the mountain. The sun has already begun to rise, and the brightness is already rather bright. Now that I've gotten out of the automobile, I'm going to start walking in the direction of the mountains. When I hear this panting and heavy breathing, I will never forget it since I was on Adderall at the time, and when you are on Adderall, your attention level is elevated to levels that are beyond that of a normal human being. I was able to hear it, and even as I tell you this tale now, all of the specifics of it are clear in my memory. I could hear it. I can say with absolute certainty that there were two dogs racing up behind me with their mouths wide and their tongues hanging out. You could hear the tongues fluttering and banging against their jaws. I do not understand why they were doing this. I am anticipating the appearance of a Labrador or a Doberman Pinscher of some kind. The worst case scenario was a Rottweiler or a Pit Bull, but instead I saw two enormous black dogs running directly at me. Keep in mind that I am 6 feet and 2 inches tall, and the dogs' heads were at my chest. They came brushing by me, one on my right and one on my left, and ran up to the top of that mound. When they get there, they are sort of bouncing about in the air like someone is putting a stick up in the air out of their reach, snapping, and playing as if someone unseen is doing it. Then, without warning, they break eye contact and turn their heads to follow something moving in the air. Just as any typical dog would do when it is chasing something in the air, the dog ran full speed down the hill, over a fence, entered the other person's property, and then went around the back of the home. Understand, I'm still standing there, dumbfounded, trying to process what the heck I just saw. Were there dogs among the ghosts? No way, especially considering that I can still detect the odor of their breaths, and when I glanced down, there were prints and smudges all over the ground. It was very evident that they had run past me. Listen to what I have to say about it. When I related the tale to my partner, she asked whether I was terrified, and I had to explain to her that I didn't have time to be afraid. I went from being surprised to being horrified to being impressed, and then they were gone. I was scared, but then they left. That was the true speed at which these monsters traveled, get this, by 8 in the morning. I've been waiting for a while, but no one from the class has shown up, so I've decided to give them a call. Percy woke them up and informed them that I had taken his cars number 1 and number 2 in order to check the time on my notebook, which was in my bag. When I looked at the clock, I realized that it was way too freaking early. At 9:45 in the morning, the class was due to gather at the location in question. In light of the fact that I had just seen these beings, I was compelled to remain seated for the subsequent 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I had no option but to do so since I needed to retake the test. So yep, that was my experience with the dog dude. It is not particularly thrilling or frightening, but it is a fact nevertheless. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.